Welcome to the basics of doing a map. I'm going to first start out by letting you know that the first things you really should do is draw the map out on paper or a whiteboard or something. That way you're not sitting at this computer drawing it out, messing with your brushes, doing this and doing that, and then deleting it all to redo the whole thing again. It's best to get your basic foundation out on paper first. If you're going to be copying like a movie or something you saw or a picture, it's best to get the picture and print it out or have it on another computer screen or be able to toggle back and forth to actually get the layout and the proper scaling correct. The next step I do, I just go ahead and draw my terrain with just a terrain calc so I know it's a terrain and I don't get confused between this and the buildings. My next step is throwing down big caulk brushes, just big square lumps of garbage right down on the map to where I'm assuming or where I think they're going to be placed. My next thing I like to do is just throw an AI actor down or a model down so I can get actual good scale to it, because sometimes measurements don't really match up between your picture and what COD scale is going to be. So therefore then you can go ahead and change the scale of things this way. It's a lot easier. Typically most one-story buildings are about 128 units tall, roughly. I don't think there's an exact scale because every building is built differently and how you're designing it depends upon your own height. My typical walls are usually about 32 high by about 16 wide. Sometimes I'll make them 8 if they're going to be an actual building framework, structural part of the building. As I'm doing this tutorial, I'm just throwing in bigger blocks and bigger blocks here and there. Now I'm going to throw some prefabs in that I'd made for destroyed buildings real quick. Here's a destroyed building I prefabbed up real quick. I think I have it rotated the wrong way, but that's okay. I pretty much make these on their own, and then I just save them as a prefab and drop them in the map. Usually when you drop something in a map, it's going to come up at the 0, 0 area. So if you ever find yourself looking for something or you're going to load something, be aware sometimes maps are created way up here, and yet they're going to be loading prefabs way down here. So sometimes people get that leaked error. That's because they forgot about something they loaded way down at the bottom of the screen. Another trick is getting rid of something that you put in you don't want. This is pretty simple. You can just create a box around your entire item. Don't make it hollow or anything. Just surround the entire item. Then we're going to do a select inside. It selected that whole thing. I'm just going to go ahead and re-rotate it to the way I originally intended it. There we go. Let's for sake say that I'm done with my map, the basic foundations. Now I want to go ahead and add the terrain to it. Cut the terrain. Do what you need to do with it. Of course there's tricks, and I have a couple tutorials on those too as well. Once you get basically everything down in your playable area, then you want to work on the perception the player sees as he's in this environment. What I mean by that is, for instance, if I'm standing here and I look in this direction, all I would see is maybe a hill or a mountain, but actually it's not connected to the actual map surface. It's set off differently than what you actually see it. Let's say for this map's sake that this is my wall and it's about this tall, and I'm going to put something off into the background over here and make it look like the map continues out further. Okay, I just placed a real quick cliff in the background. It's just basically just terrain meshes, and I just kind of lifted up the sides of them a little bit to give it that kind of angled look. If you notice, it's not even touching the map. I know that it's not going to be able to be seen from any of these angles because I'm not going to be able to get above the first floor in this map. It's how I designed it. It's an all ground level map. Another key benefit of you actually using these caulks as big blocks is because this wall didn't line up with my prefab, so I can just go ahead and just shift this up a little bit. It's not going to hurt, but it keeps me within the same boundaries I actually drew this map out to be. Another question was raised about how big can a map be? Well, it really depends. If you're drawing a lot, you have a lot of visual data to draw out, there's a limit to it. If you look at the single player, when you're playing the dam, if you stand on the actual dam and look around, that's a pretty big map, how they have that laid out. Not only that, it's also perception. A lot of those hills and stuff aren't really connected to the map. They're kind of drug off a little bit off to the side, just like I did with this background here. And also the multiplayer, I forgot the name of the map, it is also done the same way. They just kind of threw that out there. And I'm also going to do another trick too to make it look like the map goes further than that. Okay, I just added some more prefabs and they're further off into the distance. What this does, it gives this map look make it look like a lot larger than what it is. And it kind of makes you want to hop this wall and go play the rest of the map. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to. One of my little things I do is if I'm going to be going around a corner with a far off background, I'll just kind of angle it off, intersect through the other brush. Now I know it might not be proper to do, but however, I don't use a lot of them, and I've never had any vertex light map problems doing it that way. To help you adjust views a little bit quicker, you can hold down the control and you can click your right mouse button and it'll just move you up and down. That kind of makes it a little bit better than just using the D or the C key, because that only goes by certain distance at a time. This makes it a lot easier for you. Okay, as you see, I basically just copied and drug around my corners here. I'll finish this one up later. I'm just doing this for the tutorial. I've pretty much got my basic layout done. I still have everything in big blocks where I want it. Now my next step is to actually go through and make the playable buildings detailed. That's a little more in depth and it takes time to do. However, I'm going to do one building for you and kind of show you as I do it, as I go. Don't worry, this building is going to be done real quick because I'm going to stop and start this video.